Hello, thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to talk about an error when coding a convolutional autoencoder. To be more specific, convolutional autoencoder consists of two major parts, an encoder and a decoder. When image would go through the encoder, the image gets compressed and the size becomes smaller. But when it goes through a decoder, the image gets decompressed, so the size gets bigger, and we expect the size of the output to be exactly the same as the size of the input. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. And what if we need for the size of the output to be exactly the same as the size of the input? In today's video, I'm gonna show you guys a solution to that and how to maintain the size of the input. Let's get started. Okay, let's talk about how to solve a tensor size related error when coding a convolutional autoencoder. A quick note on what convolutional autoencoders are. A convolutional autoencoder is a neural network that is trained to reproduce its input image in the output layer. An image is passed through an encoder, which is a convolutional neural network that produces a low-dimensional representation of the input image. The decoder, which is another convolutional neural network, takes this compressed image and reconstructs the original image. Here's an example, as shown here. So this is the encoder and this is the decoder. When the image goes through the encoder, it becomes compressed. But when it goes through the decoder, the original image is reconstructed. Now, when an image goes through this architecture, the size of the image first becomes smaller, as I said, or compressed, and then it becomes larger or decompressed. It makes sense that the original size of the image would be kept, but in TensorFlow, the size of the output is not exactly the same as the size of the input. What if we need for the size of the output to be exactly the same as the size of the input? Here's an error that usually people face. It says, like, the last line value error, it says the size is expected to be this, but then the output from the autoencoder is this. So as you can see, the size does not match the size of the output here, does not exactly match the size of the input when an image goes through this architecture. So in this video, I'm gonna show you guys a way to maintain the size of the input in your output image. To do that, let's go to Python. Okay, here are the two scripts that I have written for this purpose. The first one is this one. I don't care what the network is gonna do, but I'm just gonna care about the fact that what happens to the size of the image as it goes through the network. So this is the first one and this is the second one. There is a difference between these two that I'm gonna tell you guys more about it. So this one has this convolutional autoencoder ready, and the model is gonna be all put together here. So the first layer is the input layer, 100 by 150 by 3. This is the size of the input layer, and I want the same size for the output image. So I'm already assuming that the output image will be the same size. So I'm gonna just reshape it into 150 by 3. So if it doesn't match this size, an error is gonna come up. So let's just go through the network very quickly. The first layer is the input layer. The second layer has the convolutional. The first convolutional layer, the second layer with 8 filters. The third layer has the stride 2, the same convolution but stride 2, which would make the image become smaller, which would reduce the size. And then the fourth layer is convolutional layer again, and then the fifth layer again has this stride 2, which would make the image even smaller. And then after that, the size is gonna go up, and it's gonna increase using the upsampling in a two-dimensional space. And there are 10 layers, 10 hidden layers, and 10 convolution layers. So it's a deep convolutional autoencoder, and then the model is going to be put together here, and it's going to be compiled with optimizer Atom and loss function MSE, and then it's going to be trained for just 2 epochs. I don't care what the network does, what this problem is, but for now I'm just going to be concerned about the size of the output, and I want the size of the output to be 100 by 150 by 3. So let's see what happens. I run this script and I have an error here. It says that the dimensions must be equal, but are 150 and 152 and 150. So this is the output from the network, and this is what I want. So what should I do with this? All I have to do is to just, after the layer 10th, I have to get the shape of the 10th layer, and I would put it here, but there's always none, because the none actually represents the number of samples, how many samples you are training at the same time. So I don't want it to be in this array, so I take out the none, and then I reshape it. I reshape the array that contains the size of the 10th layer, and then I resize it to what I want it to be, 100 and 150. And then after that I reshape it to match the next layer, which is gonna be going from x1 and x10 to x10. So after this I'm gonna put together everything. So right after the 10th layer you have to write this piece of code to make the output compatible with the size that you want the output to be. So, and then after that you just do everything else up, and like compiling, fitting, and then predicting. Again, I don't want to talk about what the network does because it doesn't matter to me now. I just wanted to solve the error, this error that has been bothering me for the past, and I thought this could be a helpful video. Let's see what happens. So I just had 2 epochs, and there's no error for the size, so you'll be set, and you will be all set to just train the network with higher number of epochs, so that the network would learn what you intended to learn. And yeah, so just after the 10th layer you have to do this, and you can't just get the shape of the 10th layer using the shape command, because it's a tensor. So you have to stick to what you have to do in the tensor, get shape, and then after that you gotta reshape it and then resize the 10th layer manually, and then after that you just put it back all together so that it would be the 10th layer. So all you have to do is to just reshape and resize the 10th layer into what you want it to be. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found this video helpful and you were able to get something out of it. Me personally, I have been faced with this type of error, and when I found the solution, it made my life way easier. So I hope the same is true for you guys. If you found this video helpful, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel and also share the video with your friends. Thank you so much and have a nice day.